Hey, how you doing? Tony Wasinski, official area of the podcast. Here he is. He's my good friend. He just got back from his nephew's funeral. Frankie Burgeside.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, saw something tough happen to your nephew Dave, something about the MLB season, and just it's just not a good time right now.
Yeah, really bad time. In fact, he's sad.
Yeah. No, I heard he got the news and he just had a heart attack on the spot. He just fell dead.
Yeah, unfortunate, not good. Good thing is we got a parking lot. We got some Miller Lites out there, so that'll bring us up a little bit.
Been in Lot B, just commemorating his life, living it up, having a couple great tasting, less feelings. It's a beer for every occasion, whether it's wintertime, summertime, or you're just getting around memorializing a loved nephew.
Absolutely. So go get some Miller Lite made from simple ingredients. It's for the people who love the taste of beer. Okay? It's malted barley, gives it a rich, balanced toffee note flavors and golden color you know and love.
Is that the toffee?
The toffee note flavor.
Yes, that is what. Oh my God, we are being visited by this apparition. The ghost of your nephew is in the room right now.
There he is.
How much do you miss a great tasting, less filling?
The great thing about a great tasting, less filling Miller Lite is we got them in abundance up in heaven, Ed. We got them in abundance. I've been guzzling these things left and right, responsibly, of course.
Thank you. The ghost of Williams passed. I appreciate you coming back. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/redline to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere that they sell beer. It's Miller time.
Celebrate responsibly, right? As always.
Mm-hmm.
And
Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Hey. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Chicago sports fans. It's Barstool Carl
and White Sox Dave.
Chief Eddie.
And this is Redline Radio and All Gas No Break Chicago Sports Podcast, brought to you by Barstool Sports Chicago, brought to you by Miller Lite, and obviously White Sox Dave, who's exhausted from moving.
Yeah, I'm exhausted. First time in the office all week. Hit a couple snags in the moving process, but we're good.
We are going to be joined by Cubs player rep Ian Happ shortly to get some information on what's going on with the lockout. It's a cool interview from a guy who's actually like on the ground floor doing this stuff. We don't get a lot of access interviews, so we're going to put this one in the access interview bucket. But before we get to it, obviously there's some housekeeping stuff we need to take care of. And I have a question off the top. We talk about Dave moving. Did you tip your movers, Dave?
I did.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Keep going.
Would you like to know how much I tipped them?
Do you, Chief?
He doesn't have to say if he doesn't want to.
Give me a percentage.
Well, I got discounted through Dante's guys, so I paid just cost. I think it was $396. Call $400. I paid for the move. I tipped them $210. So $70 a piece. There's 3 movers.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
that's a very.
It took about 4 hours probably.
Yeah,
that's a fair tip, right?
Because they're getting a big piece of that, although it's cost.
I would imagine they're still making an hourly rate. So I did the math. I think it was $23 a person per hour that I tipped them. And whatever they make on top of it.
I do not want to discount moving services. I know I'm the resident mover here.
Yeah.
That's like one of those things. Like if you have a buddy who's like an accountant, he's like, yeah, I'll take a look at the tag. I'll help you out for a second. Or like a lawyer is like, yeah, you got a speeding ticket. I'll go to court for you. And maybe like I'll help you with the real estate thing. Moving is one of those things you should not be discounting your friends for. It should be like, if I'm moving for you, you should be paying me twice as much because it's your fucking shit and I know you.
Yeah. I agree with that. It was. So I'll preface this. It wasn't Dante's guy. It was the company that moved for Dante, and they're just big Barstool fans. And he's like, I need some, like, give me social love. You can just cover costs. I'm like, absolute deal. You guys asked me earlier what the best part of the moving process was.
Why are you laughing about that? Oh,
I mean, I think that's fair trade. Well, Dante's the one who set it all up. I didn't do anything for him, but I got cable and internet, call it 5 p.m. yesterday. This is Wednesday. We're recording this. So Tuesday, I got my internet and TV all set up. And I made friends with the Comcast guy. And I got a 2-bedroom now. And there was a bunch of shit in the second bedroom. I'm still living alone and everything. And he's like, what is all this stuff? It was a box of 3-Chi. So I may or may not have made a little side deal with him.
Oh, nice.
With a cable guy. I think I've never had a cable guy, like, off the record. He's like, hey, here's my cell phone number. You give me this, I'll give you that. I'm like, done. Couldn't have said done faster. So
Hopefully this Comcast guy's a job next week.
I really hope he does. Hey,
Hopefully this Comcast guy's a job next week.
I really hope he does. You know what? He was charismatic. Maybe he can work for Barstool or something if he gets
They
hired,
can't
but-
do that thing where they plug in numbers and they give you
No,
free
it's
channels
not. It's
anymore,
not like
right?
it used to be. But he did hook me up with a bunch of tricks of the trade that are completely legal.
Can you give the people one?
So I had 2 separate boxes for 2 separate TVs, and he's like, you can just get this fucking. They're 2 smart TVs. You can just like get the Wi-Fi from the first box, and you can only pay for 1 box on the second TV. You need a Fire Stick or whatever. It was a little more complicated than that, but I'm gonna text him as soon as we're done recording today to have him actually walk me through the process of what I got to do.
Streaming
But-
services killed the cable guy. The cable guy, he had his own movie. Cable guy was a thing. I'm a cable guy. I got access. I'll fucking take
These
care
guys,
of it.
we all have shit on, and I'm talking not just we as in us four, but we as in America have shit on Comcast for a long time. My experience with them throughout this move has been nothing short of great. Nothing short of great.
Wow.
I tried to move all the boxes on my own and just connect the TVs on my own. Didn't work. Found out my new place had like super weak signal, whatever that means. And he's like, hey, like I got to do this, I got to do that. He was fucking like a machine, just hammering that shit out and hooked it up. And I gave him a box of 3 Chi disposable vapes for his wife. He said. I explained to it that it's 100% legal, and this isn't a 3 Chi ad read, but and it's not like some off-brand like kind of you don't want to touch that shit. I explained to him, I'm like, yeah, it's just like a clean version of THC. Like, have at it, it's yours. He's like, my wife will love this. I'm like, he's like, here's my number. If you ever got any questions, wink, wink, like, let me know. So I think it's a good guy to have on retainer, right?
Yeah, I mean, until he hits you up Sunday night and he's like, yo, can you get me into the Barstool bar? Let me get a table.
He had no fucking clue what Barstool Sports
I know.
was.
I mean, like, at what level does he stop? But,
Really?
He's probably
No,
gonna,
he-
he's probably gonna find out tomorrow when he gets a call from his boss about
that I
about
will
wink winks.
I will make sure that does not happen.
I got a tough job. You gotta fucking figure out where to park that big ass van.
And
You know, get out on a ladder, no matter what the weather. Like, that's a tough job.
And no matter what, when you show up, that person's already mad at you.
yeah, you got fucking yeah, exactly. People are mad at you, and it's probably
never your
not
fault.
your fault.
It's never
yeah.
your fault.
Right.
Yeah.
They probably got fucking, some cases mean ass dogs. You
Probably.
got to deal with probably filthy houses and shit.
no, I
Sounds
think
like you're
people have
jonesing
to
for your next dog walk interview right now.
be on
I've
site.
tried. I told you that.
Do you want me to text them?
If he'd do it, yeah, sure, absolutely.
We're going to have to set up like a gangland interview with this guy where black his face.
Done it before. He's done
It's been done before.
And the guy still got fired.
Dude, I had.
That was funny.
The guy still got
Shout
fired.
out
Lick my
fucking
ball sack.
Ligma.
Yeah.
That's a name drop. We haven't talked about Ligma in a while, and it's going to be the Ligmas of the world that are fucked over the most this summer by baseball.
He hasn't texted me in a while.
Well,
I should check in.
I think you just did.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this qualifies as checking in on Ligma. He's probably going to text you now.
Yeah.
He get a little bit of like a, I don't want to say like attitude, but he kind of got like gassed up a little bit from the experience, right? He was walking a little bit taller. He was Ligma.
Yeah, I think so.
Like I thought he went back to school, and people who
I
went
hope
to
he
Ball
did.
State with him were like, "Yo, you guys created a monster, man." Ligma is like he's
I don't-
on a run.
I can't confirm, but I hope so.
We probably have a lot of new listeners who have no fucking clue. Can you give the cliff notes on the Ligma situation?
So essentially, in 2019,
yeah, 19.
2019, that's when like the whole Cup Snake fiasco was going on, and the Wrigley red shirts, we'll call them, were taking away the Cup Snakes, and there were viral videos. That's what they wear.
Yeah.
I don't want to call them ushers because they're not ushers.
I know,
like,
I know.
but they're
I'm
not
sorry, I cut you
security.
off.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were knocking the Cup Snakes down or whatever.
Yeah.
And I wrote a blog promoting some shirts that you and who John made, I believe, an old social guy.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, I called them ushers. See, so that's why I did this.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, these ushers, like, who do they think they are doing this? Like, whatever, like, buy a shirt and support the cause. And some commenter with the name of Ligma Ballsack commented, hey, you got the wrong guys. We're ushers. Those are like the red shirts. They're the ones that are fucking you guys up. Like, leave the ushers out of it. And I was like, Ligma Ballsack, I would love to correct you. I would love to right these wrongs. Please come on in. He came in and he righted the wrongs, and he got fired on the way out.
Because we did the gangland, like we blurred the face.
No,
we
so
did,
that
that's
was for the
different.
security
That was
guy.
a security guy.
Was
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause then I just kept up in the ante. I was like, we got to get this guy now. And then we ganglanded him. And that Lickable Ballsack got fired the day that gangland aired. And it was like 2 hours before. It's like, oh, fucking, he doesn't know what's coming. We got gangland coming next. Like, you think fucking Crane's mad now? Just buckle up, Crane.
And now they like endorse cup snakes.
Yeah.
as they fucking should.
Times have changed.
It is well, I mean, we don't gotta get into it. It doesn't hurt anybody. It's people having fun enjoying baseball.
Which is not happening right now because there is a lockout and the season has been delayed. We're going to talk to Ian Happ in a second about the delay. Chief, you were on the interview. I'm sure you learned at least one thing. You always like to say, I learned something. Did you learn anything?
Definitely, yeah. And it's, you know, he seems like a very cerebral guy where he thinks about things, you know, to borrow a word that he used on the interview, holistically. So they said they're pretty nitty gritty right now about dealing what's in front of them. But it's interesting to hear him talk about like growing the game, you know, totally different strategies. We had a little bit of I thought it was a pretty good back and forth about expanded playoffs and what that means for the casual fan versus guys like you who are the hardcore fans that are staying up for the West Coast games. And yeah, I thought it was very good, very interesting. So we'll see how it shakes out. I get the impression that from talking to you guys, the players are just fucked.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you look at it. If I would have said they were fucked a week ago because, like I said this, I think a month ago probably, 70% of the league is not operating on $1 million plus contract. 70% of the league is operating much less than that. And I figured at the time that because of these players, and a lot of them are from like Venezuela, which not a good situation in Venezuela right now. These people rely on that money, and when 70% of 1,200 people are not making millions of dollars, you're probably going to have to cave to these guys because they want to get on the field and make money. Mm-hmm. They didn't do that, and I commend the balls that it takes to say fuck this deadline that you got set, and like we're gonna drag this out as long as we need to guarantee fair pay, and if it takes an extra few weeks for the long-term betterment of the game and the long-term financial health of the 70% of players that aren't millionaires, then we're gonna take that risk right now. So first two series canceled. It really fucking sucks. I was looking forward to having, I said it last week, a little mini party, kegs and eggs on my new place prior to opening on opening day. And it's,
I mean, that's a
it's
holiday.
bad.
That's
It's-
an American holiday.
It is.
You know, so
It
like
sucks,
opening day
man.
can be opening day, I guess, whenever it opens. But there is something about that first one in April.
Yeah,
that
because it's
just-
usually like April 1st.
Yeah, or yeah. It's
You know?
always early April, and it just gets you gassed up a little bit. Even me, who's like casual, where I'll like get super into opening day in the first week, and then I'll kind of take a deep breath, get into hockey playoffs, and come back in June. It's just, I don't know. I feel like not having that on the calendar, especially because it's like there's a little bit of a lull right after March Madness, where like you want baseball, and you want baseball kind of every day. Like that is something nice where it's like, what should I watch tonight? Cubs are on.
Yeah, it's at the very worst, if you're a casual fan like yourself, you at least know you have that every single night, And I do think in the long run that baseball will be better for after this whole mess is situated and settled. But it's going to take a near-term hit. Fans are pissed. I'm canceling my season tickets. Fuck them. I'm not giving them money. And
Did you hear that announcement?
I did see that. Are you like
yeah,
you actually
they're not under
though?
they're not under my name. They're under Tommy Hook. He's listening. Worked for the White Sox. The only thing that made me not want to cancel my season tickets is it's some 23-year-old ticket rep, on an entry-level sales job out of college that is depending on that money. But you got to hit them where it hurts. Like, where does it hurt these fucking owners? Their wallets.
David, what's the waiting list like for White Sox season tickets right now? Is there one?
No, there's not a waiting list.
Okay. I was going to say, because that would be short-sighted if you're like...
I can get fucking tickets to whatever White Sox game. I'm not saying it's because I am who I am.
Clout Sox
White
Dave
Sox
at it
Dave.
again. Clout Sox
No,
Dave.
it's you.
Clout Sox, Dave.
Even if they were on their 5th season in a row of 100+ win seasons,
Yeah.
you'd still be able to get a cheap White Sox ticket for a Tuesday night game. I'm not worried about not being able to get tickets for cheap.
What
you
about
know?
access to playoff tickets?
That's why I got the tickets in the first place.
I know.
But at the same time, I went to one playoff game last year. Did I use those tickets? No.
Okay.
Where'd you sit for that game?
In a suite?
Gotcha.
What are you getting at?
This is a great game. No, I was just I was trying to. Marty was there. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you trying to say it was Cloud Sox?
no,
Okay.
no, not at all. That was sucks, Dave.
It's a goddamn shame, man. It's a goddamn
But what about
shame.
that? If you say that, but you know it's like an empty threat, like they know you'll be back. Like
No, I mean,
Right?
people like Carl,
not
all
his
4 of
tickets.
us, we'll always be
you'll be
back.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be back. It's not, that's not their worry. Their worry is that, the 10-year-old, 12-year-old kid that's not going to be watching baseball this year, that will be putting money into their pockets for the next 60 years, isn't going to be back.
Yep. They're watching CONCACAF.
The PLL.
It sucks. I think in the end I truly think we're gonna find out that Scott Boras had a lot of say in this, which is unfortunate because he represents the upper 1%. I know that's stigmatized phrase these days, but he represents the upper 1%, and he's got such a pull on the players union, which is bullshit because he's only representing the 1%. I think we're gonna find out he had a lot of play in this, and that probably the players would have caved because I there's nothing in my head that makes sense that the players didn't take the last offer, because all the offer is very transparent on Twitter. We're going to get into this with Ian Happ in a minute. With Jeff Passan, $700,000 league minimum, blah, 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 blah. What if I really think they would have taken that deal if someone wasn't in their head saying, fuck that, we need these collective bargaining taxes at $230+ million, and that the only person that makes sense that has a say in that is Scott Boras. He's got to have his hand in something, and he doesn't give a shit about that. That 20-year-old kid from Puerto Rico that is making $500,000. He gives a shit about the Max Scherzers and the Juan Soto's of the world.
I think Scott Boras does a pretty good job of shaping baseball.
This might be a really harebrained theory. I could be completely incorrect here, but that's what, after reading the tea leaves, everything, it makes sense to me. So
if Scott Boras and I guess Manfred, because he has the job, if those two wanted to combine and they had to come to joint agreements on stuff, we'd be fine. We'd be fine. Boras is, if you read the shit Boras puts out there, listen to his interviews and stuff, he's so well thought out, and that's why he's the best at what he does. It's not an accident. You see somebody like Scott Boras is absolutely by far the best sports agent of all time ever, period. And
Any sport.
it's not because he got a fucking handout. I mean, he was lucky he knew a guy who got his career started, but he's that way because he's that good. I'm actually a big Scott Boras guy. Listen,
I'm not saying I'm not.
We're not getting. I don't want to get into the weeds.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, philosophically, I know what you're saying about Boras only cares about a certain amount of people, but we do like his. He does have good thought out opinions, as does Ian Happ. And one of those opinions is Chevy Drive Chicago is the best fucking place to go get some information on where to get your car serviced.
Oh, Chief.
I love Chevy Drive Chicago. ChevyDriveChicago.com. That's where you guys are going to go to find a dealer nearest you. So it is spring season. It might be road trip season coming up pretty soon here. You want to make sure your tires are square, well, round, but get them all squared away. Brakes checked, oil change, all that shit. And if you need a new car, you can find that at ChevyDriveChicago.com too. Check out a dealer. We trust them. We love them. So can't recommend them enough. Go to ChevyDriveChicago.com. And are they still doing the promo?
Yeah, fuck yeah, they're doing that or I shouldn't say that emphatically, sponsored content, but Chevy Drive Chicago.
I don't
Promo.
think they're still
What
doing
is it,
that
Chief?
promo.
Well, I thought it was about the Taves and Kane jersey, but it actually is not in the ad copy.
Yeah.
But you can probably still sign up to win. Check it out. Go to ChevyDriveChicago.com to find out if you're eligible to sign up for that contest.
And then DM White Sox Dave if they are or aren't doing the contest. There's your
Correct.
homework assignment.
There's
Go
your
to
homework
Chevy
assignment.
and figure out if this promo is still going on. If it is and you DM White Sox Dave, he's going to pick one lucky person who DMs him to go to a Lot B tailgate. No, not the game together, the Lot B tailgate.
I can acquiesce to that.
Good word.
Ed, Have you seen my car?
No, did you fix it?
No, still not fixed.
Oh,
Insurance
fucked up.
companies are fucking me right now.
That sucks.
Too bad
In
you don't
the
have
asshole.
Ooh.
No.
And
We're out of the ad read.
I know
If
you rail. I'm gonna
they
rail you, baby.
don't figure it out, and if I do have to, I would imagine the damage is enough to total the car, even though it still drives perfectly fine.
So you're going to ChevyDriveChicago.com?
I will be going to ChevyDriveChicago.com and picking myself out a new Camaro. I got to outdo Eds for.
I guess we are not out of the ad read.
Check the fleet, Dave. Check the fleet, man. You look good with. You look good in a little Volt.
Fleet is a logistics term. It's a word that we use in the logistics industry frequently, and I really like that word. Hey, where's your fleet today?
The Malibu. A lot of good things.
Having a fleet, that's a fucking power play.
Exactly.
Is having a fleet of anything. What other things can you have a fleet in other than automobiles and ships? Can you have a fleet of homies?
Planes.
I'm rolling up. I got a fleet of my homies. I got a big fleet tonight. Like, is that I'm rolling out the boys?
I don't think it's.
You don't like that?
of warplanes?
Yeah, planes.
You have a fleet of planes.
Yeah.
I don't think that
More of a,
I think
I'm
of it
more of
as
a
a
squadron
Navy.
guy.
Yeah, Navy.
I like a squadron.
squadron's a good
I
one.
think a
about a
squadron is smaller than a fleet.
It is way smaller than
Okay.
a fleet because you're in units.
What about
Yeah.
a fleet of ATVs?
Yeah.
I mean,
A fleet of truckers in Ottawa, Canada.
sounds like a bunch of guys who
Well,
got
just
cut
talked
from
about
the fucking
logistics.
football team.
Long
think
story
of
short, go to ChevyDriveChicago.com to find your local dealer and to place an order for a brand new custom Chevy. Maybe I'll just do that. You ever
Just
seen
a
that
custom?
Simpsons
You're
when
gonna Dave's gonna go full custom Chevy Suburban.
No.
The White Sox with the White Sox license plate.
I would never do that. I fucking
pimp my
hate those
ride.
The
people.
fucking interior. He's gonna have baseball stitching in the interior. So you know, like
I
the
like that,
headrest.
yeah.
And then it comes with Lucas Giolito. He sits shotgun everywhere Dave goes.
I'll make him my butler.
I love it.
He's out of work right now. He's got nothing better to do.
Go to ChevyDriveChicago.com. See if they got the promo. DM Dave. We should get to Ian Happ in this room before we get off Giolito though, because we were going to talk to Gio. We were going to talk to Happ. Friends of the program, both player reps. Gio owes you live ABs. A fucking fact. Gio owes you live. While he's getting ramped up, because now's the perfect time too before spring training, and he's like going to be doing
He's locked
live
out.
sim- At the very least, what you asked you is you say, Gio, I would like to just stand in for a second. Let me just stand in and I'll track your change.
I'm going to do you one better.
You DM right now while we get to Ian Happ. Can you wish me before you DM him, Dave?
I'll wish you.
All right, guys, let's get to Ian Happ and talk MLB lockout.
Whoosh.
All right, we're in the interview portion of today's show. We are joined by Cubs utility man, Ian Happ. Ian, where are you right now? I saw you were looking for a job at Starbucks recently.
Yeah, I was looking for maybe a barista. It's actually always been, I got a little bit of, you always catch a little bit of flack when you put something out like that, but I've always been like very interested in actually getting behind the bar and serving coffee, like pulling some espresso shots for people. I think it would be a blast.
Do you brew espresso at home yourself? Do you have one of those machines? With
I do. I do. Yeah.
Is anybody in
I have
this
an
room
espresso machine
surprised
at
by
home.
that?
I do
No.
look poorly.
I mean, he has to have all that stuff. You do the hot steam? You steam the milk?
Yeah. I'm not great at steaming milk though. That's why I'd like to actually learn how to properly do it.
Okay. Always getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's the coffee in the negotiation room? Do they keep it warm? Is it lukewarm? Is there some improvements we can do on the coffee?
Yes, I brought my own because, when you're in there, like it's clubhouse coffee, which depending on where you are can be horrid. And so it was like, actually Tyon and I were talking about it where it's like, it's not even worth going down there and getting a cup.
And I swear to God, this is not even on purpose. One of the notes is to talk to you about what's going on with your coffee company. And so just off the bat, like what's going on? What's new with COVID relief coffee stuff?
Yeah, Connect has been awesome. It's been a really cool growing process for the last couple of years. And we came out with the lockout blend, which kind of started as a joke. When we used those nondescript player faces, where there's no image, and put it on a bag of coffee. And unfortunately, it's become pretty timely for what's going on right now. But it's been cool. We're in Dom's Market. We're in Foxtrot around the city. And we have the subscription plan where people can get a bag fresh shipped to their door at the start of every month. So it's been really cool just to see people around Chicago and around the country kind of support us and making donations back to charitable efforts around the city.
Yeah, no free ads, but Dom's is great. Dom's is fucking great. Love Dom. Go
Yeah,
get
that's-
yourself
yeah.
a taco there. They're awesome.
Little podcast trick for you there, Ian. Be careful with your free ads, but when something's really worth it, then you fucking let it rip, and it sounds like Dom's is a spot.
Love Dom's. Right down the street from us, not far.
Yeah.
Coffee aside, dude, honestly, we get like, the news is out there. My co-host White Sox Dave is very upset about the state of baseball. And I guess just like from a mechanic standpoint, are you guys in the same room as the owners? Is this like is there just like a fundamental breakdown where both sides can't talk to each other? Like, what does it look like right now between the communication?
I mean, yeah, right now, both sides are kind of traveling back to New York, probably decompressed. I was there in West Palm for a few days during the negotiations in the room. And man, the last 9 days, both being there and then being kind of on call for a week, where we had 2 a.m. I'm out in Arizona, I'm on Mountain Time, and we're at midnight, 1 a.m. on internal calls trying to figure it out the last couple of days. So I think both sides probably need to decompress, take a minute, and then hopefully we can be back in the room talking by the end of the week, because I think both sides want to get something done or at least work towards it, but the gaps at the end were just a little too big.
Now, I was just saying this on one of our other shows, but over the course of all these negotiations, I would say probably since the start of February, when you guys really started to meet on at least every few days, and then over the last week or so is multiple times a day, I kind of ignored what I saw in media. And like I think it was 2 nights ago, we saw the Bob Nightingale stuff. He had, everybody was like riding him like a fullback to the goal line, like he was Mike Allstott. Like, oh yeah, we're going to have baseball, 162 games, blah, blah, blah. And then the next day, boom, lockouts. It still exists, all that. What should we believe in the media? Because obviously there are leaks coming out from both sides. Like, we're not flies on the wall as fans for this situation. Is anybody reliable out there, or should we just like wait until the process plays out?
Can you just share the meeting notes that you took?
I honestly, I think a lot of the actual numbers and a lot of the proposals that came out were pretty accurate. It was just kind of the attitude that wasn't properly, there was a lot of hype that last night, kind of going into like the extension day. That wasn't. It was not created by us. Obviously, it was created by the other side, and that was to paint the picture that we then backed off the negotiations. Kind of through the entire process, it was, hey, we're not there. We have a lot of outstanding issues. And as things were introduced at the 11th hour, it made it even more challenging. We had issues on our side with international draft, with luxury tax, with, the on-field rules. It was introduced really late. And, so we're up until 2 a.m. trying to figure this stuff out and see how we can get a consensus on our side, where, guys on the East Coast are up, at the wee hours trying to figure this thing out. And, that the attitude that, we're working towards a deal, it was never quite there. And there had to be moves in that last day that just weren't made. The last proposal that came across, I think everybody saw, didn't have a change in minimums, didn't have a change in, $5 million change in the pre-arb pool, no change with the luxury tax. And I think any fan that sees that 220 for the first 3 years and sees everything else that's happening in our country, and if you look at a graph of league revenues that's going vertical, it just doesn't make any sense.
Now, at this point, do you, in your own personal opinion, see that there's more fan support towards players or owners in the process?
Yeah, what's unfortunate is that it's not good for either of us. It's not good for the game. It's not good for the product. And being out here in Arizona, especially, and kind of being around, seeing people who've made the trip out to spring training, like that stinks. Like, it's horrible for families that have done that, and like the people that come out, especially Cubs fans. Like, it's crazy just how many people come out here and use it as their spring vacation to come out and watch us play, and not having it is just horrible for the community here. But it does feel like the writers, some of the stuff, like Paston's article that came out, like telling the full story and kind of being out in front of, like, look, this has been something that feels like it's been planned. April's not a profitable month for the majority of teams, especially cold weather small market teams. And that this isn't a big loss for them to take a month off, which is just, it's a horrible way to look at it, and the fans deserve better than that.
So then, like, on the ground level, how does the union prioritize the different issues when it's like, okay, arbitration, that's a huge issue to the younger guys, and they don't have as much of a voice on the union, where like the CBT, that's huge for the heavy hitters for like
5-6 teams, yeah.
But that's such a small percentage. I was listening to the Compound podcast, a great podcast that you put out. I encourage people to go subscribe and listen to that. But like, you had the one episode where you were talking about how, like, there's only so many $100 million deals in the history of sport, but the perception is that like every baseball player just gets paid $100 million.
Yeah. That was when Johnny Lester told me that one. Said $100 million contracts don't grow on trees. Every young guy thinks they're going to make $100 million. It's like that's not how it works.
Right.
But the tough part about the CBT is that it affects everybody. There's teams that, and especially because of the penalties, there's outrageous penalties where not only do teams have to pay a tax when they go over, but they start losing draft picks. And the more years they are consistently over the luxury tax, the more penalties. So teams like the Yankees, the Cubs, they have to come under. The Dodgers, they have to come under to reset. So when they come under to reset for a year, they're completely out of the free agent marketplace. And that's not just the Max Scherzer, Corey Seager deals. That's everybody. That's the guy that they want to pay $10 or $15 million to have that really good, veteran outfielder that can help the ball club that they can't go pay because they have to reset so they don't lose a bunch of money. And it affects everybody because not only is it the big deals, but it's the relief pitcher that instead of going out and paying a guy like Chafin or Tepera or those guys that make an impact on your bullpen that have experience, that are good pitchers, instead of going and paying that guy $2-3 million, they're going to roll the dice on a bunch of minimum guys and just cycle through them, use their options who are making minimum. And it affects the entire marketplace for teams that want to stay under that. And then you have a number of teams who butt up to it and leave enough room that if I'm competitive at the deadline, I'll go and get a Craig Kimbrell or I'll go and get somebody and bump up to it or just over it, but I don't want to exceed it. So I have to leave myself some space for the deadline. So it affects all players. And the interesting thing about what's happening in the room is all of the guys that were there, we are all arbitration or passed, into free agency. And we're sitting on the table, we're pounding the table, and we're fighting for higher salaries for the young guys. It's not going to benefit. I can tell you that all the stuff that goes into that deal isn't going to make me any more money. The rest of my career, I've kind of taken both sides of it, but it's something that we feel is really important for as teams have changed the way that they view the game, the way that they view and value players, that we think a more of the portion needs to head to the young guys moving forward.
Now, on the flip side, and to play devil's advocate, one of the big, and correct me if I'm wrong, one of the big talking points in this bargaining, we'll call it session, in this new bargaining session, was competitive balance. And part of the reason that they had that CBT, where if you went over 3 years in a row, you start losing draft picks or sliding down in draft picks, was to maintain a competitive balance. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, because these small market teams, like you said, they're not going to be paying $40 million for the Max Scherzers of the world anyways. But if there is no competitive balance tax, then the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Red Sox, they're going to be paying these guys. How are the small fries going to keep up with that,
Yeah. And,
so how do you balance that?
Yeah, that's the toughest question. In our view, there's a lot more teams in the middle. There's a lot more teams like the Reds, the Tigers, that go up and they will pay. The Padres are a great example. They went over the cap last year. Teams like that can afford to go out and have $150 million payroll and really compete, but then they get penalized because if they make the playoffs and get bounced, now they have a late first-round pick. They haven't made a ton of money from the playoffs, and they feel like they have to sell off for a couple years to go and get those draft picks and to reload so that they have some young talent, have some guys in the ARB system, and can go grab a couple of free agents. Part of our proposal was that in the draft, we wanted to reward teams on the smaller market teams for being over 500. If you're over 500, you get a comp pick. If you make the playoffs, you get a comp pick. So we wanted those teams to be able to go compete, win, and then be rewarded for it. And that was a key part of the competitiveness, so that teams that have that 70, 80, $90 million payroll are incentivized to go, hey, spend 110, spend 120, and we're going to reward you on the back end with draft picks so that you can continue to build your organization as you're winning. You don't feel like you have to strip down to rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that works too, because then it leans into where these teams who are good at drafting are then incentivized. Like there are some organizations that are better at drafting and developing, and others that are, more inclined to spending money and scouting at the major league level. But I guess one thing that came up that really got the fans excited, some fans excited, I would say maybe people that aren't as into the details of the collective bargaining process, is the 14-team playoff. Because like a lot of fans are like, oh, great, now that makes it easier for us to get in, and then we have a shot at the title.
I hated it, for the record.
I think original baseball people are kind of understand the long-term value of like the season and why it should be hard to get in the playoffs. But more from like an economic or player perspective, why are the players stuck on 12, and what does that look like?
Yeah, it's a really tough concept. Is what's happened over the last 5 years is that all of this mistrust has been built in because of the way that teams have started to operate. And so when you hear a 14 or 12 team playoff, immediately you go to, all right, how is this going to be manipulated? Are the best teams, if they don't have a reward for winning the division, if there's not enough incentive, will they be okay winning 85? Can you guys see me, or did I pause?
You paused.
Here we go. Teams will be incentivized enough to win the division that they're going to go out and try to win 97 games, as opposed to like, hey, 87 is fine for us. We'll make it in, and we'll roll the dice. So the issue with 14 was the only division winner that was incentivized was the whoever had the best record. Division winners 2 and 3 were having to play a 3-game series to start, just like anybody else. So it didn't incentivize enough. We made a bunch of different proposals with the 14 to try to incentivize the division winners more, and they were rejected. And so we felt that 12 was the best way to at least incentivize those 3 division winners and keep it a little bit more in the spirit. But I would love to hear from you guys, 14 or 12. If we're in a 14-team playoff and your team gets not only the first 3-game series at home, but they get the division series, the 5-game series, all home games, do fans love that, or would fans hate that?
I don't like it. I don't like it that much. I think why do I care in take me to June, July, and August. Take me when I'm fucking grinding and it's extra innings and you guys are on the West Coast and I'm staying up because I care if we win or lose this game. And so to devalue that experience, to me, takes away from why we follow and care about baseball. It's such a fun story to follow throughout the summer and shit. I want to maintain that. My favorite is just the original format, 3 teams with 1 wild card, because the trade deadline, you'd see so much action. There was just so much drama in theater throughout the last 6 weeks of the season. And to be honest with you, it's fucking gone. It's not like that. I don't know.
I mean, there's so many pros and cons to all of it. It's I think most people hate change as it is, no matter what we're talking about. But I mean, in the end, I'm a White Sox fan. I haven't seen a lot of playoff baseball in the last 10 years prior to the pandemic year through now. And if there was 14 teams and the White Sox are winning, 81 games back when they had Chris Sale and Quintana and everything, what is the point of going to the playoffs? They're not that good. It takes away the lust of making the playoffs and winning the division, For someone who's starved for success like I am as a White Sox fan, I want them to be at the pinnacle of the division. I know it's a down division right now. It is rebounding, though. But, I can't – it's cheap to me,
Every other sport does that, though.
I can't do it. It's not for me.
We play 162 in baseball. And I say we, that's how much I'm sitting here pretending like I'm one of you. But,
I'd be interested to know what a Seattle fan thinks, because they've been kind of middling for a while, and they kind of come up and then they sell everything off. So I feel like if you have a bigger playoff pool, you keep more fans interested longer. So it's should I go to that August game? Fuck it. They're 6 games out, 12 games out, whatever it is. Or They're one game out.
Hey, you still go. You still go
I don't
because
know
you're
that
like,
you
yeah,
do.
let's go.
I
It'll
think
be
you.
fun.
I think you still go.
I mean, it's still a good time.
It's weird.
The one thing that I started to notice, and over the last couple of years, as the Cubs have made this run when I came up, was we won the division. We won the division in 17, and we hung that banner. And we were all disappointed because we made it to the CS, but didn't make, the Dodgers kind of stepped on us. And I kind of looked up at the banner that was hanging in our spring training facility. I'm going, man, winning a division's a pretty cool thing to get to do. And when you win, you play 162,
Yep.
you win the division, and you get to pop champagne. Like, that's a really cool thing. And it's not valued enough. Like, it's really valued when a team's coming up, right? When a team hasn't been good in a while and you finally win the division, like, it's a really cool thing. But when you've been, the Cubs, who had a CS, a World Series, and then you win the division the next year, not winning the World Series was a disappointment. So it, like, wasn't as valued. And I just started to think, like, man, it should be a really, really awesome thing to win that division, because you grind for 6 months and you make it through those dog days, and to come out on top in every division is competitive. I don't care if it's a down division.
It's a test of mental wills.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
guess
that's something that, as far as the playoff format, like, I think it should be such an unbelievable feat to go out over the course of 6 months and 162 games and come out on top.
And you think having an expanded field cheapens winning the division?
I think if there's not the incentive to do it, if there isn't, whether it's a bye, whether it's, home field advantage plus, it has to be something that makes it such a big advantage, because it takes depth, it takes a mindset, it takes a team being good for the whole year. You can't afford to go on 2 10-game losing streaks. To win the division, to go out there and look at what happened in the West the last couple of years. Like, those teams, like, it was a dogfight the whole way, and then those guys get to the playoffs and they're exhausted. We had it 18 for sure when the Brewers kind of tracked us down. We were absolutely beat, having to go to game 163 and then play the wild card. It's just, you get to the end of that thing and you're absolutely exhausted. So the teams that can do it and then roll through the playoffs, that should, like, if you can do that, if you can stick it out and win that division, like, that should be a huge reward.
And let's take a quick break from Ian to talk about our good friends at innovativeadd.com. By far the best way for residents of Illinois to manage their ADHD, medication, prescription, fulfillment, the whole process. It's a miracle they put this online clinic together. Innovativeadd.com. What are you laughing at, Ed?
He's got an ADHD disorder.
Get focused right now.
He's got the attention span of a fucking fruit fly.
Yeah, all right. Let me hear Eddie's
fleet of them.
Come up with some excuse. What are you laughing at over there, pal?
Nothing. I just I got a good laugh, and it's not a laughing matter if you do have ADHD. Obviously, go to innovativeadd.com. You must be an Illinois resident.
I mean,
I can't laugh.
What the fuck's so funny?
I can't laugh.
This guy doesn't like doing it. No, I mean, you're not in on the Ian Happ conversation.
I can't say why I'm laughing.
Just the lack of professionalism by fucking.
Ed, what was your favorite part so far in the first half of the Ian Happ interview?
Just his poise and his presence, and it was just all beautiful.
It's not wrong.
Looks good.
Yeah.
The hair was looking really good.
It still is, because we're in the middle of the interview now, but we're talking about innovativeadd.com.
They take insurance. A lot of people don't do that. Seriously.
A lot of similar companies don't. Yeah.
Exactly. They don't do it. So go to innovativeadd.com and take the headache out of refilling your ADHD medication. It's really a no-brainer. Go do it. Must be an Illinois resident. It's the way to go.
All right, let's get back to the interview.
Whoosh.
Like, no, I would expand playoffs if they condense the season to, like, I mean, I don't mind a format where it's like 100 games or like 120 games and you guys only play on like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or like, some kind of fixed schedule with predictability.
Sense. Yeah, it made sense for the 60-game season because, we played 60 games.
Yeah.
Every game mattered, and then you did it. But, there's the problem with the game, not with the game in general, but there's TV dollars. Everybody wants content, and the advantage that baseball has as a sport is we are there every day. We are giving you content every single day, and so there's just enough TV time to fill up, and that's one of the reasons that baseball revenues are as good as they are, is because TV contracts are so big.
Yeah,
and what I think this kind of boils down to, there's a scene in Moneyball is when Brad Pitt first met Jonah Hill, and he's like, "Why'd you say that to him back there?" And then Jonah Hill kind of starts talking about how the goal shouldn't be to buy players, it should be to buy wins. And going off of your point, it's like if you only got to buy enough to win 83 games, and that's good enough to get you win most years, teams are going to do that. They're going to look to increase margins every single time. To their defense, they probably should as business owners. So I kind of get it from that side. But from your guys' side, you want the bigger piece of the pie because you guys, I saw Jeff Passan tweet this the other day. If you switched out 30 owners with 30 different businessmen to run the organizations, baseball might even be better. If you took 1,200 players out of the 30 team, 40-man rosters, you're getting a way worse product. So you guys deserve that bigger piece of the pie because of that alone. So I don't know. There's a flip side to every single argument, and it just sucks right now.
Yeah. The tough part is baseball it's really happened aggressively in the last 5 years, where every team is valuing players not for who they are and what they bring from a holistic standpoint, but every player has a win number that's associated with them before the season. It's all calculated. They run a million models and projections, and they can project out how many wins you're going to help the team create. And
you're all just an Excel sheet.
Yeah, which is tough. It's tough, but you can't fault them for trying to be as I don't know. You can't fault the system, but because the system has changed so much, players just want to have it reflect where we are. And if any of those graphs that are out on Twitter, league players' salaries have declined for the last 4 years. We continue to get a smaller piece of the pie, and players aren't asking for 70% of it. They're asking for it to be more even than it has been for the last 5 years.
Now, how do you talking about the player like the wins above replacement, or like the metrics and the spreadsheets and stuff? How do you separate the front office and ownership?
Yeah, I think they're not always. It's not always perfect symmetry there. I think that's one of the things that's hard for the players too. Is you have to kind of you have to predict owner behavior, and then you have to predict general manager behavior, because general managers are trying to make this thing as efficient as they possibly can, right? And go back to the owners and say, look what I did. It's so efficient. We won 90 games and I only spent $50. It was awesome. So you have to see how all of these rules are going to affect not only the behavior for owners and payrolls and what's, allotted at the beginning of the year, but also, how GMs are going to use the rule changes to benefit their teams, because that's their job. I think there was a quote in the Past and Peace where it was, it's not right to, I'm paraphrasing, but it's not right to manipulate these guys' service time. But if it's in the rules, how am I not going to do it? Mm-hmm. So that's the really tough part, is trying to predict kind of behavior on both sides. And baseball players don't want there to be less money in the system. We don't want the owners to make less. We want them to make as much as possible, and we want to grow the game together. We just want to participate in a fair share of that.
Now, on that point you just said, you kind of got to predict, you have to predict the front office behavior as well. And you specifically mentioned service time manipulation. Now, is there any regret from the union on signing that last CBA back in 2016? Because I think a lot of the issues are what are at the forefront of this exact negotiation right now.
Yeah, I'm sure. It would have been impossible to predict all of the ways that the game would have changed in the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. I think fans and players have seen just a complete overhaul in the way players are valued, in the way the free agent market operates, in the amount of young players, the amount of minimum guys. It's been the way options are used. Like, it's been a complete and total change in the way that teams have operated. And so it would have been impossible to predict that. But it is something that players have to own, that, hey, now is the time to, we're not going to get everything back, but now is the time to make legitimate changes to the system to reflect this operation that we've seen for the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Have you any concept of like Rob Manfred's success or failures in this process?
In what way?
I guess that was my vague way of asking if you like Rob Manfred.
No, I mean, I don't know about the successes or failures of Rob and the way that it's an unfortunate system where the commissioner of baseball works for one side. It would be to have a steward of the game that cares about both sides coming to fair agreements and splitting the pie and the fans and putting the best product on the field as much as possible, promoting players, promoting teams, making sure that everybody walking down the street knows who Mike Trout is because he's the Babe Ruth of our time. Like, those are things that I think, whoever is the steward of our game should be so focused on making sure that the young people in this generation love baseball the way that I think probably all of us did when we were growing up. And so those are just some principles that I wish we were focused on more moving forward.
How much of that type of talk about growing the game is involved in these discussions, or is it pretty nitty gritty about what's going on here, or is there a general discussion about how to make the pie itself bigger?
To be honest, to me, it sounds like a lot of lip service from everybody involved.
Yeah,
from the fans' perspective.
Yeah, I think it's pretty nitty gritty right now. But there's some broader discussions, but it's really hard because it's all, it comes down to dollars and cents. And if the Scott's Lawn is willing to pay $5 million, but if you're going to let a player do the ad, you have to cut him off a piece of the pie. That doesn't mesh. So, I think players have done a better job in the last few years of starting to be out there more and try to grow the game as players. But I think if we could take a lesson from anybody and watch the way the NBA has done it, and promoted players and put guys in positions to be role models for the next generation, I think that's how you grow the game the best way possible. People come to watch players and the best players play the game.
I know we got to let you go real quick here, Ian, but I was just curious, as we talked to you very much as this player rep, and thank you for your insight in the negotiation process, but at your core, with our audience and Redline Radio, you still are a fucking, effective player for the Chicago Cubs that we have very much enjoyed watching play throughout the years. So I'm curious, like getting away from the negotiation stuff, when this is over, what type of attitude can we expect from the players? Is this going to be like, you guys need 6 weeks to get ready? Is it going to be bang, bang? Like, are the players ready to go? What's the attitude like?
Yeah, players are definitely staying ready to go. The one issue that we had in 2020 with that 3-week ramp up was there's a ton of injuries.
Yeah.
It's really hard for pitchers to get ready that quick. It's really hard for starters to build up. I think as much as we want baseball as soon as possible, to see Jacob deGrom go 4 innings or 3 innings in his first start would really stink. I think we just have to give guys enough time to get their feet under them, to play in organized games, to be wearing cleats on the field for 2-3 hours and start to get back to a place where, we can go play 9 innings effectively, because you just don't want to see guys blowing out left and right, and then you don't get to enjoy the product for 5-6 months instead of being able to have a legitimate ramp up.
I think it's safe to say that we as like Carl just said, but it's safe to say that you guys probably learned from the 2020 season in that respect, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it was different because we were in like the heart of a pandemic, and you were basically training in your garage. And it's a little bit different now to have facilities, where you can go to and guys can get together and work out and take BP, and live BPs can happen and stuff like that. But you also have guys all over the country right now. There's some guys organized in Arizona, there's some guys organized in Florida, but for the most part, like, you still have dudes who are in Chicago right now. You still have guys that are, in snow. So you have to get everybody in the same place. and start to get some of those things to happen before we can really get baseball back. And the last point that I'd like to make is it's a lockout. Players aren't striking right now. If it's possible to be in spring training and still negotiating this.
I think that's a point that gets lost in this whole shuffle.
How about that?
What about do you guys blame 94 for that? I know I don't even remember. I'm 33. You don't remember it, but I'm sure they reference it all the time.
Yeah, it's just that the fear of players striking is what makes lockouts happen. But that's it doesn't have to happen. We could have gone through the entire spring training process. Guys could have been completely and totally ready. The arbitration stuff could have taken care of itself. Free agency could have taken care of itself, and then we'd be in a place where baseball would start up a lot quicker, as opposed to a situation where there's still logistically there's still a ton of stuff that has to happen before baseball can come back. And now with pulling games down, all the other stuff has to be negotiated into the deal too. Pay, service time, the free agent calendar, the arbitration calendar, like all that stuff has to come out. And can you imagine going to arbitration with the team when you're in game 20 in the middle of the year? What's that going to look like? You have to think about all that stuff.
Yeah, you might be getting benched randomly for for a bum like fucking Carl over here.
Yep. Yep. And you're still Rizzo's good. I saw you guys working out. Everything's health wise. You're feeling good. Everything's okay.
Yeah. I was down for the meetings in West Palm, and I stayed over by Riz. So we were able to work out for a few days, and it was awesome to see him and hang out. And we're still really good buddies, so it was always a pleasure to hang out with the Big Paisan.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. Next time at the Big,
that's a great nickname.
I've never heard that. I like that one
either.
Next time we talk, it's just gonna be about baseball and the schedule and like how do you face this like the shit that we care about. This is stupid. We're playing fucking lawyer right
Gun
now.
to head,
I dropped out of law school
be?
twice because this sucks.
I'm not answering that question. That was a good ender, but I'm not answering it. Next time we get together, we're going to 5-iron. We're going to play golf, and then we're going to talk about this stuff. All right?
Do we got 5-iron on Everett today? That's
no,
the
we
perfect
don't.
segue.
But I was meaning to ask you about that. We do have to get the foursome, but we'll do it at 5-iron. Where can people follow your podcast? I recommend. Sorry.
Yeah, real quick. Do you just let them have us post highlights on Twitter too? Can you bring that up next time?
I've noticed they haven't really said shit about that on Twitter last year or two.
That's insane.
Thank you.
If we want to, we could talk for a couple of hours about blackouts, about not letting media out, about all that stuff. Talk about growing the game. What are we doing? But
it's free advertisement.
It's commercial.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But I think some of that stuff should start to clean itself up as we've seen
naturally.
We've seen what other sports are doing.
Mm-hmm. Cool deal. Thank you, Ian. And go White Sox.
Where can people follow your stuff and find your coffee? One more time.
All the Compound is wherever you find your podcast, the Compound Podcast. And we're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Coffee is Connect Roasters, connectroasters.com. We're going to do some really cool stuff this year with the subscription and the Home Run Club whenever home run start being hit again. So go check that stuff out.
Love it.
Do you drink enough coffee where you could get popped for like an illegal substance like in college? Because I know it's on the ban list for
in college.
NCAA.
It was on the ban list.
Yeah,
guys were scared to drink Red Bulls or Monsters because caffeine would get you popped.
Yeah,
but no,
is that a major league? No, okay. No, I remember people doing the same thing in college.
I don't think you can drink enough. Yeah, I don't think you can drink enough caffeine.
It has to be like 30 Red Bulls or something to trigger a positive for NCAA.
You'd probably be dead by the time they tested you. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, any truth to the rumor you're only going to hit left-handed this year?
Absolutely not.
Okay, good. I just made that rumor up.
Did you see that ball at Minnesota in the third deck?
This is Ian Happ, Cubs. Can I still call you utility guy? You got a little infield left?
That's got a bad stigma about it.
Utility
doesn't have to be.
Is that a compliment or a dig? I can't.
No, you have to put super in front of it. Super utility.
The fucking Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
There you go. That's
I played 7 positions, but I guess I did play a little bit of second base last year.
Yeah, you probably only need pitcher catcher, right?
Shortstop too, yeah. They won't let me play shortstop.
Yeah, hands are a little stiff. Does that bother you? Did I just piss you off?
Yeah, I don't appreciate the end of this interview, huh?
No, I'm honestly I'm I'm fucking with you because I love you, Ian Happ. You are honestly a great representative of being a professional baseball player for the Chicago Cubs. I love your attitude on and off the field, and that's fucking serious.
Handsome guy, looking good, looks the part.
Total package.
Yep.
Hair looks good, huh?
You kind of look like Adam Engel a little bit. Did you ever get that before?
And I've never gotten that before, but he's much faster than me.
He can fucking fly.
Yeah, we played against each other in college, and it was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, you guys probably had a rivalry. Louisville, Cincy.
Yeah, I mean, they just slapped us, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, thanks so much, Ian. We appreciate the bonus time here, Ian Happ, Cubs all-star outfielder. That's Ian Happ, Chicago Cubs. I'm still going to call him a utility man. And when we talk about the Chicago Cubs, we talk about staples in the city of Chicago. It's impossible not to put Jim Graziano and JP Graziano up in that echelon of just tier one amazing Chicago places. We talk a lot about JP Graziano, beef kit sandwiches, but guys, there's a new product in the market that is unbelievable. It's the Jardinera seasoning. Dave, you love it. Mild, hot.
So did we talk about how I moved yet on this show or other shows or in the last few days?
I've heard that you moved.
Okay, you guys have heard that I moved. So the very first thing I did was I got a nice porterhouse for the new steak as a little prize. I'm like, all right, we're going to do a $60 porterhouse. I probably fucked up the cooking, but the seasoning was excellent with the Jardinera seasoning. It was outstanding.
Whoa, you put it on a steak?
I put it on a steak.
Eddie, what do you put it on?
I actually did some on. You could pour a little bit on your Italian beef too, just kind of like get a little different texture, you know. So I like that. It's great. It honestly is great, and it's
good in
like,
salads too.
It's such a different concept, you know.
That's the key. You can make a salad dressing.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so that's good. Also, everyone loves the collabs. I know I probably said that wrong, but like everyone, whatever. The collab, they're doing one with Billy, Trippin' Billy. It's called the Trippin' Billy.
It's
Collabs.
collab. Like, you're saying it wrong, but you don't want to adjust.
It's too late for me now. Like, I feel like I've said it like this
It's a
my whole
cooperative
life.
laboratory.
What
Yeah.
is Jim doing? Is he collabing or is he collaborating?
He's collabing. Yeah, he's
JP
collabing.
Graziano's collaborating with who?
He's making the Trippin' Billy. That's going to be the name of the sandwich. Billy Z. Check out his Instagram, The Real Billy. He's got a bunch of links and everything about what he's going through, and you'll be able to raise some money, and it's going to be great. It's for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. So, Dave, let me say this. Okay, you ready? Jardinera, mortadella, Manchego cheese, lemon dressed arugula on a seeded tomatoes bun.
I'm sold. I don't know what kind of cheese that is. You probably fucked up the pronunciation.
I just can't talk anymore. I was just gonna get chastised.
I've genuinely never heard of that kind of cheese, but it's Jim, so I'm sure it's imported from like Italy and awesome.
Yeah.
But
Say it again for us.
Manchego cheese.
do you guys know what kind of cheese he's talking about?
How do you spell it?
Manchego.
So that's Manchego?
Where's the N there, bro?
Yeah, Manhattan Tom.
Manchego.
Like
No, I'm asking. Is it
Manchego.
Manchego.
Because
It's probably a great cheese.
Why are you asking where's the end?
you said Manchego. There's no N.
You did.
Didn't you just
I
say
said
MAN?
Manchego.
You put
Maybe
two
I
N's in
fucked
there,
up.
Tom.
I don't know.
And maybe what if
Manchego.
fucking
Nevertheless,
what if Jim didn't fucking spell it right in the text message?
That's a
It's
possibility.
Maybe I'm getting Asiago mixed in. That's my bad, probably.
yeah.
So Manchego cheese. I'm sure it's fucking. That doesn't
Sheep's
matter.
milk.
That's besides the point.
When is it? That's what I want to know.
Less
Pre-orders
lactose.
start on Monday, March 7th, and then the sandwich will be presented on Thursday, March 10th.
So this is next week. Hey, you don't show up on Thursday and expect there's just Sammy's falling out. It's got pre-order.
Yes,
Pre-order.
They'll go out. I've made the mistake a couple times, and this is no bullshit because Jim does an awesome job, and it's all him on social media. He doesn't have a social media guy, but he makes those fucking sandwiches look so aesthetically pleasing that I'm like, I have to get this. And I always show up like, because I know there's going to be a rush at the beginning of the day whenever he does these collabs. I've missed out a couple times. So if you don't want to miss out, get there early, pre-order, get your sandwich. It'll be outstanding. The few that I've had that I haven't missed out on are always home runs.
And it's for a good cause. 50%
Yeah,
of
of course,
proceeds go to the Muscular Dystrophy Association.
And that's a
so.
fucked up disease that
it is. And
nobody
that's
wants. Yeah.
Pre-sale Monday the 7th, and the collaboration is on the 10th. Don't miss it. Obviously, I'll be down there eating some Sammys and hanging out with Jim. And I should move on. I just want to go back to this fucking seasoning thing for a second, because it's just funny if you think about the fact that, like, Jim has innovated in 3 areas where prior to his innovation, you would not expect it to exist.
For a local mom.
First off,
yeah.
sandwiches. How the fuck this guy come on here and just start crushing? Everybody's been making sandwiches for as long as sandwiches have been invented, and then all of a sudden he just kills it. All right, now we're going to do peppers. Everybody been eating peppers forever. No. Now Jim's like, I got something I'm going to do with the peppers. And now with the seasoning stuff, are you telling me Jim is getting into like the salt and pepper in the seasoning game? That's one of the most ironclad industries of all time.
The thing about those two is that you can get that like kind of pre-mixed thing at the grocery store. Jim's are so much better. It's like, it's not even like, I'm sure he uses, but he had like the same combination of spices that everyone and herbs everyone else is using, but somehow his combination of,
Well, he uses like the best of the best.
He knows. He knows.
he just
He uses the same guy for everything.
He knows.
He's talked about him before.
Pre-order March 7th. Get the collaboration on the 10th. 50% proceeds.
Gotta do it.
TasteRealChicago.com. The seasoning's ready to ship. And the reason this ad read went so long is because the product's fucking great. Sorry, guys. I just love it. I love it. Okay, I do want to talk about Ian Happ, though, for a second. I thought it was a good, balanced conversation. I enjoyed his points. I thought, Chief, you brought it up. The playoff format, it's interesting to hear his take on it. I think we're pretty much in agreement as baseball guys, though.
3 kind of different, because you said more, you're like more for,
I think I can see both sides. There is something romantic about going through an entire baseball season and winning it, and it's harkens back to the past where it's like you only had one team per week that would go to the World Series, and there's something baked into baseball's DNA where you have to show up basically every day to be successful at the end of the year. So,
and that's a long season. Like you always like to shit on baseball because it's not a contact sport. That is a fucking mental grind.
Definitely.
Every single day, and it's not just that it's a mental grind. It's a game of struggles. So those days seem really fucking long, really stressful when you're going, you're in a 2 for 27 slump with 14 strikeouts.
Yep.
Because that happens to most players in the league. And it's a grind, man. And I think what you said at the beginning of your last little sentence there was, I can see both sides. That's the worst part about this whole thing is if you're looking at it objectively and rationally, you can see both sides. And when you got 30 owners that are just astute businessmen that, are owning major league franchises for a reason, they're going to dig their heels in. You got 1,200 players represented by 60 reps and, Tony Clark and all that, who want to right the wrong of the last CBA, and they're going to dig their heels in. And you see both sides of it, and that's why we're here right now in the end.
I have a somewhat of maybe not a solution, but something I think that
if you have a solution and you're not sharing it, I will.
I wouldn't call it a solution, but if you're talking about growing the game, making the pie bigger, been a long time since Major League Baseball expanded. You want to have an $800 million expansion fee that, say, hey, players, we're going to limit it to this, but we're going to guarantee 40 new jobs per team. We expand to 32. You have new markets and new revenue, new jersey sales, new everything, and we promise to add 2 teams within the next,
Nashville and Vegas.
There you go.
I don't even know.
I don't think that you should do one of those markets has to probably be available for a relocation too. But yeah, you make it 32 teams, and that's a lot more money going into like the general revenue pool. That if the players negotiated, they could get like a sizable chunk of that in addition to having more jobs.
Chief, I hadn't seen anybody say that, and I think you bring up a good point.
Brain.
The only thing is that they had the division realignment. So White Sox played the Astros in the 2005 World Series. A couple years after that, the Astros moved to the American League, so now they're playing against them to get to the World Series. They did that so you would have to have interleague year round instead of just, it was like 3-week period in June. And it was 6 total divisions of 5 teams. You couldn't do that with 32 teams. How's that fair to one of the divisions of 6 teams
Fucking
in
sucked.
each league?
I hated it.
Yep.
Right? I mean, it was
Now
brutal.
now if you go to 32, you just have 8 divisions of 4.
No, they should do 2 divisions of 8. They should just have
Like
East,
the
West.
NFL?
Okay.
AL East, AL West.
But then that goes. Then you have. You
That
guys were
cuts
talking about the
travel
pennant
costs
race.
and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still
there's
playing these
so
fucking
much-
games. You just
there's
just still keep it regional, and like the Cubs will play the Cardinals more than they play the fucking Braves or something. But just
how
put
do
the
I don't
put
know-
the standings in one column.
I don't know if you can have an unbalanced schedule and have fair competitive balance.
Yeah,
It
you
doesn't.
can't-
I'm not saying keep the schedule exactly how it is, but I'm saying like if you end up playing the Cardinals 14 times and you end up playing the fucking Mets 10 times, like I don't think that's a big deal.
the NFL is kind of. I know you.
Yeah, but you still have an automatic. You have 8 divisions. You still have an automatic berth for winning your division.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
There's no
Well,
easy
you need,
answer.
yeah. I mean, you would need 4 playoff teams, top 2 teams from each division, or you could do top 3 or something. My point, my bigger point about it is there's nothing set in stone that how it is now is how it has to be in the future. Though, this is how the NL Central is and all stuff. They've been changing this shit forever. There was a point in time where if you had the fucking best record in the first half, you qualified for the playoffs. And then then they had a second half of the season, the team with the best record in the second half. And sometimes teams had the best record in the first and the second half. So then the fucking team that went to the playoffs was the second best record in the second half of the season. How the fuck does that make sense?
I never knew that. That's so fucking stupid.
But that's how because the season's
When
so
was
long.
that?
Why do you care? Like in the early 80s. And they do that for some college summer leagues or whatever. There's room to improve. And who knows if we'll ever get there.
There is an aspect where I do like that it's been pretty much the same since we've been following, and it's like I'm already dreading Texas and Oklahoma and the SEC.
Hate
and
it.
like I'm already dreading I looked at the new Conference USA and who moved to the Sun Belt, and I'm like, I'll never be able to memorize these again. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, it's over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we are now entering into that phase. When you talk to your dad or you talk to your uncles or something, they're like, no, we don't give a fuck. And you're like, how could you be so stubborn? Or why?
Yeah,
No, that's how you get stubborn. Like I made the point in the blog the other day. The generation above us, you get my dad going on the 94 strike and he's like, those fucking cocksuckers.
Oh.
It literally sucked a part out of that, that era's soul. And up until this lockout, you were like, yeah, whatever. Man, you took the 94 strike pretty hard. But now that we're living through this, it's like, yeah, you're sucking this away from us. It's the same thing with the conference realignments. Like, you're just taking the nostalgia, you're trampling on what was special to me and just changing it for the sake of
I'm sure our fucking parents were all over the Big 8.
But
you
I
know?
just said
and
that.
then once it's expanded, they're like, I don't know who the fuck even
Yeah.
plays no more. You know?
Yeah.
I have
Texas Western.
in my notes app, college football completely realigned into 6 divisions of 12. I just have it, and I might blog it at some point.
You're a weirdo, you know that?
I know, but they should just. I've said this before, that if a political candidate got up and said, "I will put college football conferences back the way they were in 1996," I would be like, "You have my vote." That's all it takes. I want to see Nebraska and Colorado on Thanksgiving, and Texas play Texas A&M Thanksgiving weekend, and that's all I really care about.
What if a candidate was like, I am going to erase all the negativity surrounding the steroid era? Dave, would you go be a speechwriter for this guy?
I mean, I would if they would have me, which they wouldn't, obviously. But I thought Coley's point on that yesterday. Granted, he was a little incorrect because the players did strike in '94. They operated under the same CBA as the '93 season, and that's another reason we're in this mess. We talked about that with Happ, but every time there's been a kind of sort of scandal in baseball, or every time there's been a labor dispute in baseball, there's been a scandal that's immediately followed it every single time. And super steroids, I don't know. Do we got fucking the Incredible Hulk hitting cleanup for us? I don't know.
I mean, I've said
what
it
could
before,
possibly come next?
You
had the cheating shit the last time.
I want designated steroid users.
I was gonna cite you too. I meant to ask that to Hap, but it slipped my mind. Gio got back to me. He said absolutely. So I am gonna make this happen. I'm
Hold on a second. I'm
gonna
going
go
to
through-
100% watching this live in real time as the person who brokered the idea.
you
So
didn't
bef-
broker the idea.
I just said it before the show. I go, there's no way Gio doesn't know you live
If
at
you
bats.
brokered
you text
it-
him, and then he goes, well, whatever.
Idea gen.
Originated.
Yes, you. I'll give
So
you
you
that.
owe me a broker fee.
That you didn't broker the deal though. Brokered the deal.
Technically,
You had the idea.
sourced the deal.
Idea gen.
So
Idea generation.
Yeah.
I'm owed a little something. We're gonna level up on this.
But
Good
hold
luck
on,
to-
real quick on that. I had if I texted Dan, "Hey, can I do this?" He would be an auto yes, right? Because I don't think it would be an auto yes if I texted our main people. They'd be like, "Well, is it sponsored? Is it just one video?" Dan would be an auto yes, and then I'd just be like, "Hey, Dan, can I do this?" And be like, "Yeah."
But
Go
then
for it.
he'd say, yeah, but bring your iPhone and have somebody there film it.
We can do that.
That's-
all we need
that's
is
the new rule.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie,
That's
what do you
easy.
think? What do you think about this?
I'll
You're
bring-
on that ground floor.
I'll
of
bring
the-
Danny out there. He can push play on a camera.
You
I'm
know
worried about you
me.
because it's tough to be a Boris boy and a Manfred man right now.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
and that was across.
I saw your tweet randomly yesterday. Eddie just tweets out. He's like, I feel bad for Carl. Rob. It doesn't look good for his buddy Rob Manfred or something. I sat with Rob Manfred at a baseball game, and I'm like, obviously
Not
conditioned
with next.
in front of, and.
You weren't his guest of honor. It
But
was-
I listen. I took the lead. I introduced myself. Me and Glenny vouches for me. We did a very good job of talking.
No,
to
no,
him.
I'm
and it
sure,
wasn't. I know I can be a lot, but we did a very, hey, we're just gonna have some fun. I'm sorry ahead of time if I annoy you. No, this is what you were here to have fun. And I mean, he was cool. We followed up. I set an appointment with him in Barstool, and I think the appointment got canceled because Erica was tweeting about it. Did you see that?
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I
didn't know that.
emailed Rob and I CC'd Erica and I was like, hey, just want to follow up. It was great. We would love to get together and talk like big picture stuff. And he responded in kind. He was like, that'd be great. Let's set up some time, like when I'm in New York or something. And Erica was like, oh, perfect. So then I'm removed from the email. And then it was like a day later, Erica had tweeted out like, can't believe all it takes is Glenny and Carl to go to a baseball game to get a meeting with Major League Baseball. And then she ended up deleting the tweet, and I don't think the meeting ever happened.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
there were rumors circulating that
Broadcast race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember thinking to myself, if they put me on a broadcast for like a streaming White Sox game, and it would light the internet on fire with all the Barstool haters because a lot of White Sox Twitter is fucking anti-Barstool, and I was like, please God, let this happen for that sole reason. Out of petty reasons.
I want to go back to
Not
you-
'cause I thought
you
it'd be
being
cool
a,
or anything.
A Boris boy to Manfred man. Ian Happ called for a steward of the game to kind of like broker things. What about you?
Well, he's the most compromised person here.
I'm not compromised.
But if he's
though.
compromised every which way,
Thank you.
then he's neutral.
I'm so compromised. I'm not compromised.
Wow,
So
that just put my head in a
Yeah.
blender.
after I tweeted that, I was like, man, there's probably some very funny Manfred shit. There's a very funny video of you being just being a big time Manfred man that I wanted to tweet, but I didn't want
Oh,
to.
why not? What is it? Explain it to me.
Well, you're just like, fuck, I'm with the owners. The players are fucking crybabies. And it was
Dude, you are such a pussy.
I don't.
You know
Send
for
me
a
the
fact,
fucking-
if I said that, it would have been tweeted so fast.
Yeah, because I can quickly just be like,
and
yeah,
you
whatever,
just
dude, I said
hesitated,
this.
so you just
listen. The
answered
reason
yes.
is, Dave, you'll fight it for hours. I'd just be like, all right, whatever. I said that. This is why I said it. Fuck off. Like you'll take it to the grave.
Oh yeah, I would.
It's very funny.
I can't believe.
I sent it to Danny. I was like, hey, this would be good on social. So
See now
worse.
that's actually
That's
worse than anything.
worse.
A little peek behind the curtain of Barstool Chicago. Ed, well, I'm just gonna
That is
text Danny on the
state-controlled
side.
media.
Have you ever text Danny on the side about something he should be posting to Barstool Chicago social media accounts?
No,
You say,
I
hey
said-
Danny,
no.
you should. Hey Danny, I saw this on Ed.
I'm trying to grow
I
our
clipped up the
account.
Dave Portnoy show.
nothing even close to
I
that.
saw Eddie
no.
say this on the Dave Portnoy show.
I'm
Danny,
trying
this
to
would be
grow
good
our
if you.
accounts.
Hey, no one say that my idea isn't growing the account.
yeah, no, I'm not saying that, but it's way better off of an account than mine.
Well, Danny could always retweet it from you.
Yeah, sure, I guess, but I don't know. I honestly just figured, it's better coming from an account. I don't because I don't have a dog in the
So
fight.
Text me-
then
Like
why
if
did
I was
text it
like
to me right now.
If I was like vehemently like, oh my god, like I can't believe Carl
You
has
said
this
that
take,
wrong.
I would fucking, I would be it. Like I'd be like, yeah, this is. Could you believe he said this? I don't care.
did Danny
Like,
just
I don't like it. I just think it's funny because there was some,
Ed, text me the picture.
It's not a
no,
picture
I mean,
video.
We're doing a podcast right now.
Why didn't Danny post it?
I don't know. I have no idea.
What year was it? Or was this for COVID?
Dude, this was a weird thing too. This was a big Barstool Chicago radio storyline. Like you wrote him an email one time when like you stayed up late to watch an Illinois game. Like being a Manfred man was always funny because it was the first time that White Sox Dave could turn the tables on you about being compromised.
Well, that's because I would and that's right. I would send him like,
Yes,
hey
so, like-
Rob, just thinking about you, man. Like, hope you're having a good off season. And now here's the thing, he is fucking emailing me back every single time I email him. Now I don't send him 1,000 emails or whatever, but like there's enough of like I got to a point where I wasn't like, well, this is weird. I mean, it's always weird. But it wasn't in my head like I'm not taking like a risk here. I'm just like, oh, I'll throw a little what's up to Rob. So yeah, of course I was compromised. That was more. I feel like that would be more like, like leaning into the compromise, being like, ooh, well,
Yeah,
I'm
just
compromised. I'll fuck around a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. Instead of like hiding it like John Heyman, who is blatantly compromised. Or we gotta talk about this real quick.
Do not say his name. I'm gonna say his name. I mean, I cannot believe Bob Nightingale has a fucking job.
It is
Did
unbelievable.
you see the picture of him signing an autograph?
Stop. You guys know I'm a Bob Nightingale guy.
You are
Because of what
you're
he looks
fucking
like, Ed.
compromised.
Because
his name's
most
Bob.
unbelievable, like 24 hours a reporter's ever had. Not named Bob Woodward. It is so crazy.
People were putting Bob Nightingale in the fucking Woj bomb category.
It was unbelievable. And then 12 hours later, it is so fucking clear what he was doing. Do you know what he was doing?
I do not.
All right, so
Did
Bob
you-
Nightingale, he was tweeting.
Yeah.
He was tweeting and disseminating information under the context that like a deal was close and the
Yes.
players just had to agree on it.
Yes, and this was on
He's a stooge.
this was Monday night, and everybody's like, "Holy shit, Bob Nightingale! He's like out Passan, out Rosenthal." Like everybody was like giving him a high five and a pat in the back. 24 hours later, fucking no deal, and it is so clear that all 30 owners had him in their pocketbook to drive the narrative that this is the player's fault. And it's like, how do you call yourself a journalist if you're compromised like that? Like, we fuck around and do it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll admit I was probably a little compromised by On at one point.
Wow.
Same with you.
Wow.
Wait, repeat that. What?
Wow.
Like, I didn't want to. If
Big moment
I
for
would-
the Barada gang here.
I
Only
would-
guy's never been
Oh
compromised.
Jesus!
suck my fucking ass.
You're not fucking
you've been
compromised. My fucking ass. My fucking ass.
I was just about to say something bad. I'm not going to say it, though.
We got guys deleting interviews, Chief. We got guys calling you up going, hey, what about next year? We'll rerun that interview.
Oh, yeah.
That might be the most compromised thing of all time.
Which, I'm sorry, I missed
I'm
that.
probably the least compromised.
Why are you the least compromised?
Well, I mean, unless you say I'm working with Russia, which, I mean, that's obviously not true.
I disagree.
I don't know if it's obvious.
Someone I introduced you to.
Ooh. I know what
Who?
that means, but Dave only makes his face when he's
Oh,
talking about
how was
tits.
that? I've never went off something that he said.
I know,
Or, like,
but
I've never, and you know that. We took one gambling pick from him, too, and we're like, we're not doing that no more. Do you remember that? So that's not even the case.
I don't remember that.
Oh, well, we definitely
what was
talked
it? What
about
was the? It was a college football game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we're like, all right, fuck that. But no, I've never.
Yeah.
I've never.
I'm
held
just
back.
busting your balls, but it was just like Bob Nightingale is such a fucking asshole. What a fucking dickhead.
They should go to
and
somebody
I don't
else.
mean like an asshole, like he's a fucking douchebag piece of shit. Like he's a fucking asshole. Like he's just a fucking asshole.
Wait, what do you mean then? I say
Like,
asshole when it's like you.
It's got
you're just
different
like, you know,
descriptors to it.
I don't really say asshole like that person's mean because like I don't know, fucking everybody's mean
He's a
and
fucking
nobody's mean at the
mouthpiece.
same time.
Yeah, he's a mouthpiece,
Yeah.
and it's like, dude, you are so fucking.
But does anybody buy his stuff?
Fucking USA Today.
They were, yeah.
Apparently, and that paper means something. You get that paper. You're in the
used to.
hotel.
Charts and
You're
graphs.
at the fucking Hyatt. Someone comes up and they got a USA Today for you. Bob Nightingale, front page, ready to break the story.
He's basically fucking like, I don't know, Bruce Levine at this point.
Oh, that's
I'll give the it's not a preface because it's after a suffix. What's a post? I've heard everything about Bruce Levine is just awesome in person. Like, he's funny, he's charming, but man, does he fuck up in fucking Twitter and baseball all the time. But it's not an indictment on his personality per se. He just fucks up a lot. But I heard he's just an awesome dude, top to bottom.
Who?
Bruce Levine.
Oh,
He doesn't
yeah,
come
I'm
off
sure
that way on
he's-
the radio.
he's-
either.
No, I know, but like everybody who, because I'm like, man, fucking Bruce is such. I'll get like text messages from those who work with him, and they're like, dude, he's the best dude on earth. So I don't like that. That means something to me.
Dude, he's an old guy who's been hanging around working baseball his whole life. How could you not be a super awesome dude?
It's like Mad
Yeah,
Dog
that's
Chris
true.
Russo.
I hate that cocksucker.
Oh man, Ed.
Why you
Like,
gotta
here,
get
I
me
have a
going?
stopwatch. Like we're cruising. We're at fucking 30,000 feet
Why you
sailing
gotta get
along
me
here, Ed. What,
Great
Dave?
baseball guy.
Dave, what? I
loves the
guess
game.
we're here.
Grows the
I got to respond to Gio. What should I say? I'm in time and place. No,
Tell him you're busy because you're recording a podcast.
people like to know the live updates. Anyways, 30,000 feet. Ed, you're above 30,000 feet right now.
Wait, explain that again. I missed that.
I don't know. I was trying to.
Yeah,
was
I
trying-
don't know what's happening,
I
but
was
I
trying
want
to
to go
make
with
a
it 'cause
Putin
Dave's
Russia
trying.
joke. It didn't. It was
What does
bad.
30,000 feet have to do with?
I was trying to get at like a fucking chopper gunner or AC-130, you know, wreaking havoc on the Ukraine. But it's it was, I didn't have anywhere to go with it. It was a bad attempt at making a joke, and I apologize.
It's like the old Michael Scott where you start a sentence and you just don't know where it's going.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. I wish I knew what that was exactly in reference to, but I've never really watched The Office before, which is an indictment on my personality, from what I've heard.
Anytime you
There's a lot
hear me
of
make it
those.
loud, an ad read's about to follow. And that's why I'm going to talk about my friends at Revitolite. They are revitalizing they're revitalizing you. Whether it's a big night at Barstool River North here, guys. Every night. And you're going to want to have some Revitolite Black Label.
It's made for stoolies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing, I mean, it's March Madness. This is like for real the start of like the going out season. You got March Madness, you got St. Patrick's Day. Little tip when you get home, half at night, half in the morning, you'll be feeling like $1 million. So get that Revitolite Black Label. You can get it in our store on the store.barstoolsports.com.
You even had it during the move, right, Dave? To give you
Oh,
a little,
yeah,
little
I-
extra electrolytes.
I don't think I would have made it. Like, literally, I would have died without it.
So go get Revitolite Black Label.
It's delicious too.
Yeah, it's don't pay for Saturday nights on Sunday morning. Revitolite Black Label pairs perfectly with nightcaps and midnight snacks. Your nightstand will feel naked without Revitolite, so stock up. Like Chief said, pro tip, drink half at night and the other half in the morning for optimal results. And you can pick up your Revitolite Black Label today in store or online at the Barstool store, and tweet at us or tag at Drink Revitolite at Barstool WSD in your morning after stories. At Drink Revitolite.
At Drink Revitolite.
It works. The convenience store across the street sells it. And every now and every time I see it in stores, I'm like, oh, cool. I can't get over
Does
it.
that
I'm like,
weird
cool,
you out a
we're-
little bit?
No, it's like this, holy fuck, like we're in a store? I still...
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
And I know how big everything is and how fancy everything is, but like at its core, I'm still... I don't live
insurance
that
salesman.
world. Yeah, I still fucking get up and go to work. Like it's still work. It's like, it's not real. So when I do see the Revitolite, am I wrong?
No,
Nope.
you're not. Absolutely not. Like, I'll see the stickers like that we get with our merch and like slapped on a mailbox on walking down the street, and I'm like, man, this,
Yeah.
like,
But not
got
here.
big.
I'll be fair. I mean, I'm not going to the Super Bowl. I'm not on the private jet. You know, I'm not
buying
you know.
Teslas.
I used
Exactly.
to-
So maybe it's just different for a guy like me. Or I mean, in Chief's case, you're Mr. Spit and Chiclet out in Vegas.
Yeah,
You know.
what I was gonna say was like on Chicago Avenue in Ukrainian Village. On like I would walk to work at the old office, and there would be a guy that just had the Stan Bowman clown face like printout just pasted on all over his windows. Loved that. So yeah, that is. But it's like that's our guy. That's our guy.
Are we looking at your crystal ball? Dave, can you give Chief his crystal ball, please?
Thanks.
And just look deeply and give it a shake. Do you see?
It's a crystal ball, not a snow globe.
I always, while I was saying looking at your crystal ball, I was thinking about the fucking 8-ball that you shake.
Oh, the magic
The
eight ball?
Magic 8-ball.
Give the magic 8-ball a shake and tell me if it says Kyle Davidson will end up on with a nose on his face with the clown shirt.
I don't think so. I think he's got plenty of runway because, he said in the introductory press conference yesterday, we're looking at a rebuild, not a retool. So they know, like he knows where the bodies are buried. He knows how bloated that hockey ops department got. He knows how Stan ran it. He was not necessarily a Stan guy. He was kind of more of a Norm MacIver guy. I would not be totally surprised if Norm MacIver, who had been with the Hawks for a long time, Stan demoted him because basically Stan got tired of him saying, like, you're fucking this up. So Stan, like, froze him out, tried to limit his voice, and then demoted him, so he left and went to Seattle. I've been hearing a few rumblings that Norm could come back and serve as assistant GM to Kyle Davidson, which I would also like because everybody respects Norm. Everybody would say forever that he was the smartest guy in the room back in the day when he was here with the Blackhawks. So love that. But yeah, I think he's going to have plenty of runway. Obviously, the big decision here is about 1988, and it's kind of their decision. And Kyle Davidson said that those two guys would be involved with, and that they wouldn't be surprised. Kane had kind of an interesting comment. He was asked about that today, so I'm going to read it verbatim. I'm pulling it up here. So
This is fucking journalism, by the way. He's not paraphrasing.
Yeah.
We have this word for word.
So someone asked him if he wants to finish his career with the Blackhawks, and he said, "Yeah, I think so. There's probably a lot of time to determine what's going to happen in that regard, but let's be honest, I love Chicago. I love the city. I love the fans. The organization's been amazing to me and my family. There's really not much not to like here. I think there's always business decisions in the game of hockey. There's not many guys that play their whole career with one team, so it would be a privilege and an honor to do that, but I guess we'll see how it plays out." So it sounds like Kaner would be here for the long haul, and I think that puts you on a different trajectory. If he was like, "Hey, I'm out of here," then they would do a full teardown. What are you giggling at over there now?
That wasn't a derail. I'm sorry. You should have seen the look White Sox Dave gave me.
It's just because Dave likes it when we fuck up words. Like, right?
Yeah.
Am I saying that wrong, Dave?
Trajectory.
That's true.
No, honestly, it had nothing to do with Chief messing up the word trajectory. I just knew that if I turned and gave Ed a face, that he would give that little laugh, and I felt like doing it. That's all. Let's do it.
You felt like pressing like the soundboard button.
Yeah.
So do you think that Taze is saying this to kind of set himself up because
That's
it's
Kane.
like,
That was Kane.
yeah, I'm sorry, Kane.
Yeah.
Kane saying this to kind of set himself up because it's like if they pay the number that he wants, he's going to stick around. But if they don't pay him the number he wants, that's why he says like, well, we can see how it plays out.
Yeah, I don't think
I don't think he's going to take if he's getting 8, he's not going to take 6 to be on a rebuild.
Well, he's making 10-5 now.
Okay.
And he was the highest paid player in the league for a long time. Him and Taves together were both the highest paid player in the league for like 3 or 4 years, which is unheard of in sports.
He knows attendance. He's smart.
Yeah, he's a smart guy, and I think it has more to do with will he be involved in the process? Because he's had many quotes about being like, yeah, like I could be a tremendous resource. And there was a player poll, I can't remember what publication did it, like who's most likely to be a GM in the future. And Kane was like one of the overwhelming favorites because that guy is a nerd. Like he doesn't do anything anymore. He just goes home and watches more hockey, and he knows like you want to talk about like who's a good fourth line player on Vancouver, and he'd be like, oh, this guy. And then so he knows the different players, and I think if he's made more of like a partner instead of an employee, then he might be willing to stick around. But if they get rid of guys that he likes, or they acquire guys that he likes, and he gets kind of the response that Bowman gave him, which is like, shut up, like it's your job to play, like I'll run the team, which Bowman said last year about Kane when Kane said, yeah, I'd like to have a bigger voice in the room. Well, then I think if they don't listen to him, I think he'll just be like, fuck you guys, I'm out. But if he's part of the process, and again, this is pure speculation for me, I think it sounds like he's willing to ride it out here for the end of his career. Like wants to be here. His wife is from here.
What is he, 33 now?
Turns 34 in November.
Okay.
So, and that goes back to my point that I've said all along, that if 1988 are here, they have a bunch of guys on veteran guys under contract, so it's almost like impossible to do a full rebuild. So they have Hagel, they have DeBrincat. Those guys are locked up for 1 and 2 more years each. Jones has 8 more years. Murphy has 4 more years. McCabe has 3 more years after this year. So like they have like kind of a nucleus of guys right now that you would think that they would find a way to build around to make them a wild card team, which is probably what they should have been this year if Colleton didn't fuck everything up. But they need like, I went to the game on Sunday and they lost 4-0 to St. Louis. St. Louis and the Hawks played like well, but it was probably like they're just not close. Like St. Louis just has better players and they won 4-0. The Hawks played to the best of their ability, but they need like 40% new guys. Like that's kind of, like they need another top 4 defenseman or 2. They need probably 3 new players to put in their top 6. Their bottom 6 is like fine, but they have too many of those guys. So then it's like if you assume like some level of development from Doc, which I think there's a lot of questions about now. There's crazy quotes from Derek King about like he needs to be a better person off the ice. It's like, whoa. Like, what the fuck does that, like they're like went pretty hard, like in the media, his head coach said that. So I was like, holy shit. And then, but if you say like he matures and they get him back on like a reasonable deal, and then Reichel becomes like a legitimate top 6 player, you can spread some money around.
Well, I'm taking him for the White Sox after the CBA's over.
Oh, I know. I mean, he's your favorite baseball prospect ever, this German guy, Lucas Reichel. So they have like, you could make an argument that it's like, okay, you add 2 more, let's say 2 more top 6, legitimate top 6 players, and you add another top 4 defenseman. You're a wild card team. And could you do both paths where you're playing competitive hockey with Taves and Kane? And if Davidson ever was like, we need this like 3rd line guy to get in the playoffs, here's a 2nd round pick, I would be like, you're a fucking idiot. But if they're still like, I don't think you're going to speed up your rebuild by getting rid of 1988 necessarily. I think you're probably on the same timeline regardless. Like you're going to be a middling team kind of with or without them, I would assume. So you're either going to be a middling team acquiring assets and building for the future, or you're just going to suck. And I don't know, especially this year, the draft sucks unless you're in the top 2. They already gave away their 1st round pick. I think your timeline to be a cup team again is probably 5 years because you need the Murphy and McCabe deals to get off the books. You need they need a lot of new players. So it's like your timeline. You can either be like decent while you're rebuilding or be terrible while you're rebuilding. And I'm not sure it's like 6 and 1, half dozen the other. I think you're about the same. It's about the same thing in terms of being really good again. So I'd rather just be competitive and try to do both things at the same time, knowing that they're not going to be a cup team. I'd be fine with them being like a playoff team.
But if they're good enough, then won't they just have to pay some people when the time comes?
Like who?
Whereas, like, say in 5 years, like if they do kind of keep retooling things.
Yeah, but like those guys might be 17 years old right now. Like they have.
Is that draft starting to look kind of rough or no?
Which draft?
The Doc.
Fuck yeah, it is.
Yeah, like I know
brutal.
Byram's going through his stuff. So
yeah,
it's
he's coming back, but like Zegras is in that draft. Caulfield looks a little bit rough, but yeah, like. Yeah, I would say, but I think people knew that in real time.
Oh, yeah.
Like Dylan Cousins looks really good for Buffalo, or has pretty good for Buffalo.
How about Capo Caco? He sucks, right?
Tom?
No, he doesn't suck.
Yeah, that was a direct shot at Tom. It was a joke.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
But
he hopped in that microphone so fucking fast right there.
Yeah. Well, the Rangers are loaded. Like they did that letter and they got it going. They wrote a letter to the fan base being like, hey, like we've been trying to do this thing here with Lundqvist and. Who I'm blanking on the defenseman, McDonough, and they had like this core that would get to like the playoffs, get to the 2nd round, went to the finals one year, and then you're just like, we can't get over the top, we're rebuilding, and now they're like the best team in the league, they're like a legitimate contender now, and so the Hawks need to kind of do that as well. The only difference is that they have, I think the Rangers, their only holdovers, Kreider, right, essentially.
Their only holdover?
Yeah, from that group that was.
Oh yeah, Kreider's the
last
most
guy.
tenured guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
we still don't have a captain.
Right. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. So I just give it to Fox. And they did it the right way. They drafted Condre Miller. They started building and getting pieces in place and got rid of some of these guys. And then they were able to go out and sprinkle and get these, these bottom 6 guys like
filling guys.
Yeah, to kind of supplement that awesome core. And then they shed caps. They were able to get Panarin, and they were able to get these high-end guys to go with, the pieces that they had been building through the draft. And Fox wasn't through the draft, but they acquired him as a prospect. And so, they did it. They did it kind of the right way. We'll see if it works out. But yeah, that Doc draft is that pick. I didn't love it in real time, and then I think it was one of those things where they rushed him, and they rushed him from like a hockey sense, but they also rushed him like he is 18. Like certain guys are ready to step in, like from a maturity standpoint. Sounds like that's not the case with him. So it's like, he's driving
Most
around.
people, I would say, aren't ready mentally.
They get the big money, and you buy a house that maybe is a little. Your
be-
priorities are not necessarily on your craft because you're 20, 21 years old
or in rehab.
Yeah. So yeah, you would be in rehab, not Kirby. We're not saying that about Kirby.
No, I'm saying it's tough.
Yeah, no,
It's
is
tough,
definitely is. So. Yeah, but I'm still optimistic that he can be like a fine player, like a Jordan Staal type 50-point good player both ways, and then you got to kind of but he's not like, I think Stan sold this vision of DeBrincat is Kane, Doc is Taves, Jones is Keith, and none of those guys are as good as the guys that were here before. No. So but could he still be like a good player? Yeah, but he's just not Jonathan Taves.
I remember, was it 2019 we went to like their mini camp? I don't know. Fuck, I'm talking about where we went to their practice facility next to the UC, and we were just watching. It was when Doc got drafted.
Mm-hmm. Prospect camp.
Maybe that's what it was. It was a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah.
But I remember looking at him. I was like, that's the guy right there.
Doc?
He just looked apart, and the way he moved on the ice, and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
He's expert scouting report, Dave. You saw this guy 3 years ago.
Shut the fuck up. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You can take a look at any athlete playing any sport and just know.
Yeah. Well,
just by their movements.
I obviously can agree with you. I'm simply busting your balls.
You're not, though. You were serious right there until you started agreeing with me.
No, like you're an expert. It's an expert scouting report, Dave. He looked good. It's a fucking joke.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I think
he's 6'4", 200, and he was going up against teenagers.
Yeah.
So I think he definitely looked
expert Sox Dave right.
Right. So he looked good in that setting against his peers, and he does. Like, he has skill. He was good in the bubble, but I also think he was living with Brent Seabrook. Okay, now he's not, and I think living with Seabrook was probably pretty good for him.
Oh, yeah.
That's so fucking weird to me. Professional. It's like we're professional athletes. We're there.
Yeah.
Like Seabrook. Like go get like the spare bedroom in Seabrook's house, and like that's crazy.
Crosby lived with Lemieux for like 8 years.
He was like
27.
Because these houses are so big.
That he had a wing to himself with.
That's true.
Yeah, and Kane lived with Stan Bowman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I can see Lemieux just like cooking up a bunch of eggs in the morning. Just like being all fucking responsible older brother style. That's a nice relationship.
Yeah. So
Kane and Bowman living together is
that's wild. I think it was like a couple of Buffalo guys. So and
with that bulbous bald head. Can you imagine him like?
Dude, what do you got a problem with being bald? You're not far behind. I'm there right now. What are you ripping on bald people for?
I don't know that I'll ever be like George Costanza bald.
Well, I mean, hanging on for life is way worse than fucking.
I wouldn't say it's hanging on for life. It hasn't gotten that much worse over the years. I got friends that had like thick ass heads of hair not long ago that are like bald now.
There's a lot of bald guys in hockey, I feel like.
They're
either bald or sick hair.
Yeah.
Not a lot of guys like Ian Happ walking around.
You know what?
Ian Happ his hair's juicing.
Listen, he did some work.
He's got the Portnoy.
Yeah, he did some fucking work. But it looks good. You have to compliment the guy.
Yep. I want to do that for my face. I'd love to be able to transplant hair from like my neck into my cheeks, and like I have this little bald spot right by.
Why don't you just shave?
My face is fat as fuck right now, so it covers up the double chin.
It's a true Mexican standoff right there.
I don't think. I mean, I could be incorrect. I'm not looking at you like, oh, that's a hot looking dude.
Right.
But I'm not saying
Exactly.
Are you horny, Dave?
If I was in shape, you would be saying that.
Would you fuck Chief?
See, I don't know that the facial hair does anything.
You think it still makes me look gross? I look gross.
I think you just
regardless.
look,
Yeah. Well, in
I'm
my head,
not trying to be a dick. I honestly,
Or-
I could be wrong. Maybe.
I think if I went like straight razor and came in like totally face bald, you'd be like, whoa.
Scale 1 to 10, Kyle Davidson's hair. I don't even know what the scale
4.
looks like. 4?
No,
You know who he
It's actually like
It's
pretty
thick.
good looking guy.
Yeah, I
yeah,
thought so
you know
too.
who he kind of reminds me of a little bit?
Me?
No. The president of Ukraine, Zelensky.
Ah.
Like he looks a little bit like that guy.
Talk about a fucking badass.
Why are you rolling? Why'd you get the guttural?
everybody's
side
like,
of you?
that'd be nice if Zelensky ran America. So that's a different.
Dude,
podcast.
I didn't say that. I, just think
I
he
know,
looks like
I know.
the GM.
I didn't say that you said that. I like Zelensky. That guy's fucking hilarious.
Badass.
Add that face.
was
We
a
get too
comedian.
geopolitical here.
Just
Ukraine is the same colors as my elementary school.
it's like the sports boys.
They do got a
Hey,
sick.
how about their boxer,
combo.
Alexander Usyk? That
Few of 'em.
motherfucker knock you out.
Klitschko.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, of course he
Klitschko,
would. He's like the heavyweight.
his
Vasil
brother.
Lomachenko.
Was
All
it
right, so
Lomachenko, Belarusian?
I'm more optimistic today than I was last week about like the future of the Hawks. I'm glad we can now. It's just like we have.
It seems
a
like it's
guy
been put to rest.
you can officially take a step forward.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that step is going to be, but at least there is there's no more looking back. You have
Yeah,
a
yeah,
guy
yeah.
at least
sure.
the next 5 years will have somebody's hand on the wheel that.
How much of a relief is that to you personally?
I mean,
I'm sure you were sick of everything about the Blackhawks.
I mean, he's miserable unless they're Stanley Cup champions.
no, I mean, I just said that I would be fine if they were a wild card team.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. You know what your standard is.
I'm not even talking about the on ice.
And
problems
I'm saying like
necessarily.
you know what you want. You know the fucking standard of what you want from the front office and
Yeah.
the fucking players and the attitude and the coaching staff.
I guess I one of the reasons I feel so much better now is that I really feel that Stan and Al pulled the wool over Danny's eyes, and it took a crisis situation to root out Stan Bowman. And then once Stan Bowman was gone, I think Danny got an education on how rotten that department had become and how far away they really are. Because I think he got sold a bill of goods by a guy trying to keep his job
Snake oil, yeah.
and got a promotion out of it. And he was like, well, that was McDonough's fault. That was Quenneville's fault. That was so and so's fault. I've never really been able to do things my own way. I think that was, and when I say I think, I've been told that's what it was.
Nope.
Okay, so he sold him on this. Danny bought it, and then it took all the 2010 stuff coming to light to root out Bowman, and then you could really do a deep dive without people trying to jockey to save their jobs to be like, yeah, actually, like that guy fucking sucks. And this is a problem. We have too many scouts in this way. Our analytics is way behind. Like all these things, and there's nobody left, to say no, it's actually not my fault. So, and Davidson could shine a light on that. Be like,
Yeah.
Stan did this, this, and this. The rest of the room was saying, hey, draft this guy. Hey, trade for this. Don't do this. And then Stan would go ahead and push things through. So I think that era is gone. And now we have fresh eyes and a fresh approach, and everything can be rebuilt, and the team can finally have a direction, and that's a good thing.
Now
Well,
this is a horrible question, and this is the last question. But considering that he was part of the last regime and everything bad off the ice that went down, is there any chance? And of course, he's got a great thing going in Florida right now, Coach Q. Any chance at all for in the future at any point?
Here?
Yeah,
No.
none.
No.
Done. What? Door closed.
Joel in Chicago won't happen. I think he'll get another job, and I think he'll get another job, and he'll have to answer all these things, and he'll do that. I wouldn't even rule out him going back to Florida.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, because they just left Andrew Burnett in place, so I think that is possible too, and they're still paying him. But yeah, it's not here. And then it's like another name. It's like the guy who would be perfect to be the next coach would be Jim Montgomery. Okay, like Jim Montgomery, he's got the respective veterans in the league. He's a great communicator. That was like the number one thing Kyle Davidson said in his press conference. We need to have an elite communicator. That is Jim Montgomery. great at developing players, did so at University of Denver, was off to a great start in Dallas. He has all the off-the-ice issues himself, where he's like running around with, female employees and getting in trouble, and, and he's supposedly clean and sober now. But he would be perfect if he did, but he has that baggage, and you just can't risk it. So, like, they're going to have to find the right guy, and he's going to have to
immaculate record.
And it's going to have to be more than just the hockey piece.
Yeah, okay,
so
yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah,
it'll have to be a little bit of PR too. So we'll see.
Well, it sounds like you're relieved. I know.
I'm happy. I'm optimistic.
Content.
Yeah,
maybe.
No, more than that.
Yeah,
I'm happy. I'm glad it's not a baseball guy. I'm glad it's not some nerd analytics guy. It's like a hybrid of everything.
That was fucking weird to me. I don't know.
The basketball woman from Toronto. So I think they ultimately all, it was always, to borrow Jersey Jerry's, it was always Kyle. It was always Kyle, and they got the right.
You're
guy.
happy with how thorough the process was and everything?
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I think they have a guy who, I think they have an upgrade over what they had.
Okay, good. And on that note,
I was gonna say,
bowl down.
No, I was gonna say, just all this conversation about it is like, and then we have Carnosovas for the Bulls. Just so that's just great. It's just like you eat this stuff, and then it's like Carnosovas.
Nice.
I mean,
Get them
like,
healthy, get them to the playoffs.
I want every single one. I want to feel about my GMs and leadership at all institutions. My fucking, from my bank to my insurers to my colleagues, all these institutions in my life. I want to feel the same way I do about Arturas Karnisovas and how fucking good he is with the Bulls. We have, this is a long loaded show for obvious reasons. Very substantive stuff going on. We're gonna be back next week. We do have a Super Bowl champion local guy who will be joining us at some point to talk about all this crazy shit. Go to tasterealchicago.com, get those fucking seasonings. They're ready to ship. And the last thing I have here, I just want to give a shout out to this guy. His name is Mauricio Garcia. He's like a 50-something-year-old, works for the Illinois Department of Transportation. I was getting on the Dan Ryan on Friday night after spending Friday at my parents' house for dinner. And I was getting on the Dan Ryan, and I went into a pothole. And as I entered the Dan Ryan at like 10:30, 11 o'clock on a Friday night, my left tire blows out. Not a flat, blowout. And I have to
very scary.
And I have to like wobble my car through 4 lanes into the left shoulder. And if you know anything about the Dan Ryan, it's an interstate in Chicago. The shoulder is barely wide enough to fit a car.
Yeah, right.
You cannot. It's like I shouldn't say it's against the law. If you get out of your fucking car on the Dan Ryan to look at a tire, you're out of your fucking mind. So I call in AAA. AAA was like, we'll be there in 3.5 hours. So I'm like, I can't do fucking shit here. So I'm sitting in the car. Illinois Department of Transportation. They've got these yellow tow trucks that patrol 90-94, go up and down, and Mauricio Garcia, 2 state troopers. They came over. They fucking, they pull the car in the left lane. They block the whole fucking thing off. Now it's funny because before they show up, every car coming past me is going like 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
I mean just fucking hauling.
Fuck this guy.
As soon as a state trooper shows up, everybody's going 55 and fucking signaling and stuff. And it's a remarkably dangerous stretch of interstates. The guy changes the tire. I'm elated. This is arguably the happiest I've maybe ever been in my life. And I was like, dude, please, can we take a selfie? And like, I want to remember you. I want to give you some love. And so I take a picture of this guy. I send it out, and without fail,
it got back to him.
It got back to him. But without fail, people are like, what kind of a pussy can't change their own tire?
I was getting tagged.
I just want to tell a story. I'm that type of pussy that can't change the tire on the Dan Ryan at 11 o'clock on a Friday night. For a lot of reasons, I want to thank Mauricio Garcia. And if anybody can relate to me in these circumstances, I'm sure you understand the type of elation that I felt that moment.
Was it 3.5 hours?
No, AAA to show up was 3.5 hours because I have a roadside service.
Oh, okay.
I have roadside service or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's through State Farm, and so they'll come out and fucking take care. Now, normally they come out quick. Normally they come out half hour, 45 minutes, but they were like, we'll be there in 3 hours. So I was just sitting there like, all right, I guess they're gonna be here in 3 hours.
I would have fucking melted down.
That was funny. I had like a case of beer in the back, and my dad was like, hey, I got some beer in the fridge. Like, take a case home. And I'm sitting there, and I was like, "Oh, I should probably just drink these beers."
And get
then I was like,
shit-faced.
"I was like, wait, no, I can't. I have to."
You'd get a DUI.
Like that's
yeah.
how I was like, "I was just gonna."
You gotta
camp
pass the
out
boarding.
here. And then the state trooper showed up, and I was like, "Yeah, it's a good idea." I wasn't sitting here binge drinking, which is fucked up.
I do
It's a fucked up
want to give a
experience.
shout out. My sister just got moved from
Oh, yeah.
Germany to Poland to help. She's in the army. She's only lived in Germany for like 6 weeks or so. End of January, early February, she moved out there. But taking care of Ukrainian refugees, and her husband's going to be like on the front line if it gets to it. So it's real shit. They're pretty nervous. She's
Did
got
you
two
just
young
one up
kids.
Mauricio with the fucking Ukrainian?
I
war
kind
here?
of did. So, but you,
I
give it a
tried
shout out.
Mauricio.
It
It's not a
reminded
competition.
me.
Thank you, Mauricio.
Yeah, Mauricio sounds like a great guy.
No, I'm teasing. That's incredible, Dave.
Yeah.
It's like you hear stuff like that, and then it's like, yeah, I don't.
I didn't even know about it. I called her
loser.
like because she's obviously in the military. So I'm like, yeah, I want to get her perspective, and she's like, yeah, I just got shipped off to Poland yesterday. It was 9 p.m. out there. I called her at 2. They're 7 hours ahead of us, I think it was. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, they need me to help out with the refugee intake. So she's dealing with the real shit. We're sitting here making redhead jokes. It's not pretty in Eastern Europe right now, but hopefully we get it all taken care of.
That's a show. Tune into the snake draft next week to learn more about Ed's emerging oligarchy. Until then, all gas.
No breaks.
And DJ, play that shit.